Do you like the new Toyota Supra? Since its launch, it's been a very controversial car, but I have a feeling that the internet is slowly coming around to finding this car quite cool. Now, before we get stuck into the nooks and crannies of this car, we wanted to tell you guys that you could win a brand new Toyota Supra with $50,000 worth of modifications through the kind people at A90. By donating to Reach Out Worldwide, a charity set up by Paul Walker himself, you could be in with a chance of winning a Toyota Supra just like this one, being flown out to LA to meet Corey Walker, Paul Walker's brother, where you will see the car for the first time. So hop on over to amaze.com/drivetribe, donate to a great cause, and you'll be entered to win. The link is in the description below. Anyway, the Supra. The last generation Supra, otherwise known as the A90, was a proper JDM legend. That was due to a bulletproof cast iron engine block, which was great for engine tuners, and it was stamped into the history books by the one and only Paul Walker. So people look at this new car, the A90, as a bit of a letdown and essentially just a rebadged BMW Z4. But the Toyota engineers really thought long and hard about this car, what it meant to them, and also what it will mean to the people that are going to buy it. So when you break down this car, it does actually resemble a decent platform from which to tune from. Now, the first clue that this is a great car to modify from are these blanked off vents all around the car. Now, when it was first launched, the Supra was criticised by journalists for having too many fake vents. But Toyota tells you that these vents are actually put there for a purpose. Toyota says that these vents can be opened up at a later date to allow more cooling for the car. And as engine tuners will know, more power means more heat. 2/3 of the energy that an engine creates is exhausted, wasted essentially, via heat energy. And you need to get rid of that heat to keep everything cool, stop it overheating and potentially failing. So around the front here, this can be good for brake cooling, this can be good for engine cooling, and then there's this guy, and this guy, which should be good for gearbox and differential cooling. So Toyota has left all these vents for tuners to go ham on this car and not worry too much about venting all that heat.
Now, although these vents are placed in what look like functional areas, they aren't completely pop-out. There will need to be some fabrication to get them doing any sort of job, so there's more work needed than you may think.
Another tuning Easter egg Toyota has left is space. There's a nice gap between the engine and the radiator here, and there's also space in front of the radiator. That leaves space for additional radiators, intercoolers, oil coolers, all the stuff that will keep the mechanicals nice and cool so you can safely create more power. Next up, the engine. Now, a lot of people are disappointed with the BMW B58 straight 6 in the Supra, especially compared to the legendary 2GZ from the last generation. But people that have disassembled these engines have found some pretty decent engineering within. Apparently, the stock crankshaft is good for 1,000 horsepower, but for something a bit more chill, you can chip these engines, mess about with the ECU, and get around 500 brake horsepower. This engine is also really well packaged. The turbocharger is down there and is integral to the engine block itself. The main charge cooler is actually within the intake manifold. It's sort of built in. Now, the engine block itself is what we'd call a closed deck. Now, that means that the coolant passages are smaller than usual and are strategically placed so that the engine block itself is more rigid. That means you can increase horsepower safely.
The choice of engine was a simple one in the end. Toyota knew the Supra had to be a straight 6, so they picked the best inline 6-cylinder engine out there. They could have spent millions producing their own, but if you can't beat them, why not join them?
So what has this car had done to it? Well, it's got a rather nifty carbon fibre intake, it's got a carbon fibre engine cover, it's got a bespoke ECU, it's got some rather out there forged rims, and it's got a super sprint exhaust.
I grabbed the owner of this A90, Imran, for a chat. He tunes BMWs for a living and has therefore decided to have a go at the new Supra.
So Imran, you're the man behind this car. What plans do you have for it next?
Okay, so currently it's in a fairly mild stage of tune compared to what we're used to. Next thing will be to do the downpipe, go stage 2 tuning, get it to just over 400 horsepower. And then once we're finished with that, and we've got a set plan for customers for stage 1 and stage 2, we'll fit a hybrid turbo, get it to around 600 on pump fuel, and then maybe 650 on race fuel. Past that, I don't know yet.
Okay, so in the States, guys are getting 1,000 horsepower out of these things. Will you ever go to that level, or is 600 good
I
enough?
think 600, 650 is good enough. The car is rear-wheel drive, and the guys in the States, they go absolutely nuts. I mean, they took a brand new engine, they tore it apart, figured out what all the weak points were, made them, and that guy, Papadakis Racing, I mean, he's already got 1,000 horsepower. But I think with the Americans, they really do push the envelope because they love drag racing. And for our customer base, it's more kind of casual, and they like going to maybe some airfield events, but drag racing is not a huge thing here. So maybe not 1,000 horsepower for this one, but maybe one of our other cars.
Cool. Can I take it for a drive?
Yeah, of course you can.
So as I said earlier, if you'd like to win a modified Toyota Supra, head over to romaze.com/drivetribe, donate to charity, and you can be in with a chance of winning. Time for a drive.